The Toronto and GTA pre-construction sector seems to be struggling at this moment in time. That's right, because in today's video, we're going to discuss the fact that there was a record number of unsold inventory to end 2023. At the time of recording of this video, it's February 2nd, 2024. We're going to go through the numbers a little bit more in detail. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you why, in my professional opinion, this is happening within the Toronto and GTA pre-construction sector. Hello, everyone. This is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and the PreCon connoisseur. On this channel, we like to discuss everything having to do with the Toronto and GTA pre-con market, pre-construction news, development news, and pre-construction previews and reviews. So feel free to subscribe for any of that content. My latest review is up on the channel. I reviewed LSQ Phase 2. And lastly, in the comment section, you can find a link to my exclusive WhatsApp group for first access to pre-con projects, price lists, floor plans, and such, and pre-construction news as well. And also assignments. I share assignments in that WhatsApp group chat. But don't join if you don't want something that's updated often, because I do try to update it as often as possible. Anyways, let's get to the point of today's video, which is obviously the fact that Toronto and GTA pre-con sector seems to be struggling at this current moment in time. There was a record number of unsold inventory. According to this Toronto Star article, which references a very good Urban Nation report. Urban Nation is one of my favorite resources and sources. There was about 22,000 unsold Toronto pre-construction units, which represented an increase of 41%. This 41% increase represents a near record high. Furthermore, to the point, there was about 31% of pre-construction developments that failed to sell 30% of their inventory for that project. Now, this is important for several reasons. First and foremost, this was not happening a year and a half to 2 years back. This number was probably far lower, closer to 15 to 10%. Number two, for most pre-construction projects, and this, obviously varies project to project, builder to builder, their financing deals are all different and constructed in a different way, but give or take, the threshold that most builders for most projects require to start construction is about 70% of the sales. And not only did 31% of projects fail to meet that 70% threshold, they didn't even meet the 30% threshold. Now keep in mind, this further indicates the struggle that a lot of projects are having moving inventory. Now keep in mind, this is not just the city of Toronto, this is GTA wide, and this accounts for anything up to a 60-story mega tower in downtown Toronto, or a subdivision of, let's say, 15 to 30 condo townhomes somewhere as far east as Clarington, as far north as, let's say, for instance, Georgina, or as far west as Oakville. So it really accounts for the smallest of projects with condo townhomes to the biggest of projects with 60-story mega towers and everything in between. Now, I don't want to make it sound like it's all doom and gloom. Don't get me wrong. On this channel and on my main channel, I always strive to be as nuanced as possible. The situation within the Toronto and GTA real estate market and with life really is not always as simple as black and white. The market isn't either crashing and everything is going to burn down, or the market is exploding and you're going to see all-time highs. Typically, there's a more nuanced middle ground there. And the situation is a little bit obviously on the worst side, right? The Toronto and GTA pre-construction condo sector is struggling. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, as we discussed, a lot of unsold inventory, a lot of builders not even selling, a quarter or a third of their projects. But the good projects are still selling well. At least that is what I'm seeing on the ground. The A-grade projects from A-grade builders such as Tridel, Daniels, even some not so A-grade builders, but maybe a B-, B+ builders who are putting out some interesting projects, or really cheap projects, are selling decently as well. The downtrend we're seeing is more so exacerbated by, maybe some inferior projects, maybe some inferior builders, or a combination of both. Or maybe some projects that are priced way too absurdly for no justifiable reason. And now let's transition as to why this is happening. Well, in my professional opinion, as a Toronto and GTA real estate agent who actively works on the behalf of a lot of pre-construction purchasers, and even outside of that, not just pre-construction purchasers, I work with a lot of buyers. I'm always in tune in communications with the buyer mindset. This has to do with two primary factors that kind of, affect each other. First and foremost, we're in a high interest rate environment. And in my experience, the people who are most averse to high interest rates are investors, because for investors, it's much more about the dollar and cents. So when rates go up, investors who once again are most often purely looking at things from the quantitative perspective as opposed to the qualitative perspective. Well, even when interest rates go up and maybe prices come down, investors react much more harshly to higher rates and are much more likely to take a seat back because, once again, investors are way more interest rate averse. Whereas it's not the same situation with end users. End users are not always just purely focused on the quantitative side. It's a mixture of the qualitative and the quantitative. As a result, end users are not as interest rate averse. End users, in my experience, and by end users I mean families, young working professional couples, individuals who are going to purchase for themselves, individuals who are going to purchase real estate for their own use and live inside the property, whether pre-construction or resale, they're far, far, far more likely to stomach things like higher interest rates or other downward pressures in the market, because once again, it's not purely a investment decision, it's also a lifestyle decision. It's a house, a home, not just an asset. And I see this time and time again in higher interest rate environments. You know, just even in the resale market, I've made 6 condo purchases in the last 3 months, and these 6 condo purchases all have been end users. That is not a coincidence. And obviously we know the pre-construction condo sector within the Toronto and GTA markets is heavily investor focused. So as a result, a lot of the buyer demand that exists within the Toronto and GTA pre-construction sector is greatly diminished because of the sheer volume and portion of the investors that take up the demand for pre-construction projects within the GTA. So summarizing quickly, higher interest rates are causing a lot of investors to take a step back, and there are tons of investors who are involved within the pre-construction markets in Toronto and GTA. And this helps us transition to the second reason. You know, now that we have set the table within the high interest rate environment, the price gap that exists between resale prices and pre-construction prices is becoming even more untenable in this high interest rate environment. Even if an investor decides to get involved within the real estate market, whether at a pre-construction level or a resale level, it makes far more sense for investors to get involved right now at a resale level because of the price per square foot of condos being far lower of that in the resale market as opposed to the pre-construction market. There are gaps, there are crazy absurd gaps in certain areas in downtown, in certain areas of North York, in certain areas of Peel, in certain areas of York region. Gaps upwards of $700 to $800 per square foot. So these two reasons in combination, I think, provide a great explanation as to why there has been so much diminished demand with regards to the Toronto and GTA pre-construction market. Once again, the good projects or the projects that are priced well are selling pretty decently. They're still not selling as well as they would have in the peak of the market, right? But they're still selling pretty well. It's more so the middle class to lower class, the average okay to subpar projects and builders that are kind of feeling this pressure right now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, this is Sam from PreCon Connoisseur and Saberi6 Real Estate. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned.